this is week 18, if I'm not mistaken, of the horror show, and this is the epic climax of Phantasm, because I'm doing Phantasm Ravager. So this came out in 2016. This came out about a year, I think, after Angus Scrimm passed away. I don't really remember when he did pass away, but he passed away around that time. And this, I think this technically was his last movie. Of course, Angus Scrimm plays the villain of this franchise, the saga, the Tall Man. And it was kind of sad, but I say kinda, it was sad. I was just a bit too young to, truly not understand, because I understood he was dead, but like, it just didn't, I guess it just didn't really hit. And, the older I get, then the more it's like, man, he really did pass, didn't he? Anyway. This was directed by David Hartman, so not Don Coscarelli. Although Don Coscarelli gave him the blessing to go and make this. Christopher L. Stone, though, does come back to do the soundtrack. Reggie Bannister plays Reggie. Mike Baldwin plays Mike. And there's a few other actors that come back to playing characters that they played in previous ones. Like Jodie's character comes back. Rocky is a cameo at the very end. The lady in lavender from the first Phantasm, she's a kind of cameo in this movie. Not at the end, though. But anyway, let me tell you what the movie's about. Intrepid hero Reggie must cross dark dimensions in search of his lost friend Mike. Fighting his way through alternate realities, Reggie must battle for his very existence in an ultimate confrontation with the Tall Man in his home world. Yeah. Although, I don't really like how that movie kind of goes about it. How it kind of, well, it's a fine way of summing it up. But, Reggie is trying to find the Tall Man. And he's traveling all kinds of times and dimensions and whatnot. And ultimately, the movie becomes, he's in two states. Or he's in two different, universes, for the most part. There's the future, where the world's in, hell. And, it's like a post-apocalyptic kind of world. And you have the other where it's Reggie in a nursing home, or, like a mental place. And Mike's telling Reggie that, all the stuff that, you think, it's not true. It's not real. And it's really interesting because it's quite the turntables, although not really for Reggie, but for Mike. Because Mike, growing up, he was always called the crazy one. And now it kind of turns into, he's not the crazy one. He's the normal guy. But as the movie kind of goes about, that Mike starts having these dreams about, Phantasm. And starts to maybe kind of wonder if what Reggie is saying is true. But then Reggie also finds himself in that other post-apocalyptic universe where he also meets Mike over there. And that Mike, because that's what, I guess the one thing that's kind of odd about this is is that the same Mike that he left in the ending of the fourth one? In which how you kind of went about it, it seems like it is. Because that Mike is it's like you went through the portal, I never saw you again, and I wandered the desert and whatnot, and all this stuff kind of happened or whatever. I love and I hate that, because before this movie came out, I guess if anyone were to look at Phantasm, nightmare horror movie where if there was any jumping through space and time, it's time. You're jumping to the future, you're jumping to the past. Are you sane? Are you crazy? It's not like a whole multiversal thing. Because I kind of like the idea of a multiverse if you go about it a certain way. But I never try to well, I say never. I think I did try to at one point kind of force that thought that, hey, this is a multiverse the whole time. and because it kind of makes sense. But then it's like, then it kind of just starts feeling a bit forced, especially how they went about it, about the whole Reggie, because he's like constantly flipping from one reality to the other reality. And he can't tell which one's real. All he knows is he's being thrown around like a pinball. So there are aspects of it I like, but then again, it's like, I think the only reason why they went this multiversal route, because that's when they start kind of going about the whole multiverse thing, is because of other films and whatnot that were coming out around that time that were kind of, multiversal thing. The Avengers weren't really doing that yet. Maybe the writing was on the wall a little, but it just kind of feels like that's more of a modern thing you see in movies, the whole multiverse thing, and if you do see it in the past, it's like kind of rare, But anyway, let's go over the categories. The story's a 5 out of 5 for me. I really like the story, and I do kind of like the whole him jumping through space and time constantly, trying to like find his way back home or whatever. And it's like, will he find his home? But it's just constantly jumping through portals and whatnot, and it's interesting, at least to me anyway. The characters are 4. It's really just the 3 of them. There are a lot of other side characters, but as I said, they're side characters, and you probably only know them for like 5 seconds before they get killed. And so there's the Reggie, and then there's the 2 versions of Mike, and then the tall man. And it's I don't know, it just feels kind of weird. But then again, it's like, hey, they're trying to be different, and it's trying to be interesting, and it is a bit interesting, but I don't know, there's just something about it that just doesn't really feel right. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just the whole, you're trying to make a movie, and some things sometimes get forced. And maybe it works, maybe it doesn't work. The music's a 4 out of 5 for me. Definitely still have that kind of thing, but it also kind of feels like they kind of took a step backwards in the music department a little, which, it's Phantasm music, so how can you, like, really go wrong, I don't think you ever really can, but it's not the same as the first one, Setting is a 5, as I've said before. I really like the idea of him jumping through space and time. I guess my whole thing why I really like that is because in Black Ops 3, Call of Duty Black Ops 3, in the zombies storyline, our 4 main characters are constantly map to map jumping through space and time. And so it's really reminiscent of that, and I really liked that story. It's funny, they basically come out at the same time, roughly. So, the whole everything multiversal was back then. But yeah, I mean, I like that. He's kind of jumping through things through places that he has been to before, and places he hasn't been, and it's just, it's a fun little journey. And the ending's pretty fun, too. The atmosphere's like a 4.5. As I've said before, I really like it, but there's just something about this movie that just doesn't really fit right. And it's not like the CGI or anything, but I don't know. Maybe I'm being too harsh, but then again, the rating I'm going to give it's like a really good rating to have. So, I mean, am I really being too harsh? I think this is a fine rating, just how I got to the rating is, the kind of, like, weird thing. IMDb has this movie as a 4.9 out of 10. I have it as a 4.5 out of 5. So, I think that this movie is a lot better than IMDb does. And, if I'm not mistaken, IMDb thinks this is the worst Phantasm. IMDb thinks that they gradually went worse. Yeah. IMDb would have you believe that all the Phantasm movies from the first one to the last one was on a decline. So, like, the first one was like a 6.9 or whatever. And then, like, it went down. And so now it's like Ravager is a 4.5. Or not 4.5, it's a 4.9. But, yeah. And then the ending, there's no plot twist ending. The movie has an ending. Reggie's body in the nursing home dies, and then Reggie is in the post-apocalyptic world with his buds, and they're gonna go and save the day kind of thing. They do kill the tall man, but we could only imagine that the tall man's gonna come back, kind of thing. So they're just gonna stay there and fight and keep fighting, maybe even move up north where it's colder because tall man doesn't like cold. But yeah, I mean, it's a fun movie. So we're at the end of the line. My ranking of the Phantasm movies, from my least favorite to my favorite. My least favorite is the third one. So 5 is the third one. 4 is the fifth one, this one. 3 is 3 is the second one. 2 is the fourth one, and then 1 is the first one. And yeah, I really like the story throughout this whole thing. I think I've marathoned this franchise 2 times, and this is one I totally do not mind going back and revisiting in a marathon, because it's just a nice one. It's, you know, it's also short too, because like each movie is roughly an hour 30. So I mean, it's like 7.5 hours roughly. So maybe like 8, like less than 10 hours, because there be breaks in between. It's like 10 hours, right? It's like you could wake up at 10 o'clock and then it'll be over by 8, right? So it's like, that's pretty cool. Because, you know, you go and say do a Lord of the Rings marathon, it might be like a long time, because if you do it the right way and put the extended versions in, then it's going to take a really long time. Star Wars, really long time. But, you know, Phantasms, especially for horror movies, it's one of those smaller franchises, and I still say it's a really good, I said this multiple times, it's a really good story, and I like it, and I like how, I think my favorite thing about Phantasm, there's 2 things. It's the music and the consistency and the actors, with the only real problem in that whole consistency is that someone else played Mike in the second movie. But apart from that, all the characters, all the actors, you know, came back, and it's really nice. I really like that. But yeah, I'm Sam, Flying Kite. This was week 18, hopefully, of the of the horror show. I did the last Phantasm Ravager, and should you watch this? I mean, I say you should, but then again, I'd also probably say you should do a marathon of it. So if you ever had the time, you probably should do a marathon of it. All the movies are on Tubi except for the second one, and I'm sure you could find the second one like on Amazon or whatever. So I say it's worth at least, it's worth the check, it's worth the watch one time, the whole thing. But yeah, I'm not sure what trilogy or franchise I'll do next, but I'll let y'all know when I do it. Goodbye.